Good morning and welcome to another week as we have started this new series, A Manual for Living. And the whole idea is to get really practical and work through the book of Proverbs. It's really one of those books that help old people, those experience in life, the not so old, but even children and young people around how to do life that will bring meaning, purpose, and inspire. Now, in this time that we are in, it's most probably one of the topics in our lives, in that the confusion that the world is under, the principle of wisdom that is defined to that of the human nature. In fact, in 1 Corinthians, Paul actually reminds us to not seek human wisdom, but to seek godly wisdom. And that led me to going through and really starting this series to talk about a manual for living. But it's really based on wise sayings of Solomon, the son of David. Solomon being blessed with discernment and wisdom, when God asked him what he wants from God, he asked God for wisdom. So the chapter and the first chapter in Proverbs 1 in verse 7 actually starts with this saying, wisdom, the manual for living, start with God. Start your life with God. Start with God. The first step in learning is bowing down to God. Only fools thumb their noses at such wisdom and learning. Now, if you take this one verse, bowing down to God, in essence, even in this statement, there is a humbleness, there is an acknowledgement, and there is a recognition to whom God is. In fact, you will see that the whole covenant in the New Testament is all linked to the definition of eternal life. And eternal life is, in John 17:3, all about knowing God the Father and the Son. And here Solomon starts this message. He starts to say that it starts with God. And what that means is when you bow down to God, it by definition brings you to a point that you are starting to acknowledge who God is. You are starting to know who God is. And if you are living a life where you do not recognize this, or you are your own ego are motivating you, or you are lifting your nose at this wisdom, that it is absolute wisdom to bow before God, then in itself, Solomon defines you to be foolish. And verse 8, pay close attention, friend, to what your father tells you. Never forget what you learned at your mother's knee. So it sort of comes back to the first covenant. Love God the Father and love your neighbor as yourself. But here, firstly, your position is knowing God. Firstly, your position is bowing before God. And when you understand that position practically, child, middle-aged person, those that are still blessed to have your parents around, it gets practical. Never forget what you've learned from your parents and what you've learned on your mother's knee. Wear their counsel like flowers in your hair, like rings on your fingers. It is quite a humble heart, a heart bowed before God, that will wear the counsel of their parents, wise, and consider that counsel for application in their own lives. that will pay attention to that counsel. And this is really the start of this week. And this week, I'm not even going to go further because the next step is all about companionship and selection of friends and so forth. This week, I want to encourage you to read verse 7, 8, and 9. Think about your heart's position towards God. Think about your heart's position towards your parents. And the reason for it is that God doesn't say honor your good parents. God says honor your parents. And if you are willing to bow, because you might be sitting today and you wonder whether God is good. You do not believe that God is good. So how do you bow before a God that you think might be bad because you look at the broken world and you're questioning the presence of God? You've allowed the nature of this world to determine the profile or the perception of who you think God should be and what God should be doing in this world at this moment. And practically we can unpack that whole topic. But at this point in time, to really, if it's your desire to understand the manual of life, and if it's your desire to understand your purposes, the question is, do you know God? The question is, are you willing to bow before Him? And with that said, knowing Him, understanding Him, are you willing then to honor and listen and consider the teachings and the advice from your father and from your mother? This week, it is actually all about, in a way, coming to a point to say, not my will be done, but your will. This week, it's all about taking the first step of wisdom. And that wisdom is, am I willing to surrender all of my perceptions, all of my limited knowledge, all of my own desires, my own will? Am I willing to surrender that and bow to God? So this week, go and read as well Ephesians, especially in Ephesians 1 and 2, when Paul challenges the Ephesians about your role and why God had always had a plan for you. And as you seek wisdom, as you seek to find the purposes of life, let's start at the beginning, as Solomon is highlighting to us. Let's start by bowing before God in this week. Let's quiet the noise of all the things that's happening in this world, and let's have our eyes and our hearts set on knowing Him better this week.